and I was invited to a Sons of the Utah Pioneer banquet or something. And they sat me next to a guy, and somebody said, "This guy's interesting. Talk to him." Well, I did. I talked to this older gentleman I was next to, and one of the things he told me was, I was one of those missionaries that was evacuated right before World War II, right before Hitler got going. And he said it like I would know all about it. I'd never heard of it, didn't know anything about it.
The man behind films like The Cokeville Miracle, The Fighting Preacher, 17 Miracles. You may have seen some of those movies before. The name of the director of those movies is T.C. Christensen. He's my guest today. He's here to talk about an upcoming film that'll be released here in Eastern Idaho, April 26th. It's called Escape from Germany. And TC, thanks for taking a few minutes with me today to talk about this project.
Oh, I like to talk about it. It's been a very fun project to do.
This movie, give us kind of the premise of this.
Well, it's 1939, Germany, and Heber J. Grant is the president of the LDS Church, and he sends a message over to the mission presidents in Germany and says, the war is going to start in 3 days. Get those missionaries out. And that's pretty much the story. It's just getting them out with a war starting and Germany trying to move all of these soldiers to the Polish front. And it took a lot. It was not a simple thing. It took a lot of perseverance and a lot of miracles.
This film just premiered in Utah just over this last weekend.
Mhm.
And how was the turnout? What's your reaction?
It was good. You know, I've been a little concerned because it just seems like people haven't been going to the theater like they did before COVID, and I didn't know how it would go with us, but it's gone very well. People are getting out and supporting it.
It'll be premiering here in Idaho Falls and Eastern Idaho April 26th. And I understand you're going to be coming here and there's going to be a interaction with you and some of the cast members.
Yeah, I'm really jazzed about getting to come to Idaho. I get to do some press and I get to go to some of the theaters that it's playing at, and I'll be speaking after some of the screenings and talking to people in the halls and giving out these many posters. And then actually, I'm bringing my son, who is the editor of all these films, and he's directing a new film himself, and it's a documentary, and we're going to be filming a few things while we're in Idaho also.
Oh, you will. Are you allowed to speak about what that is?
Yeah, it's interview stuff because it's a documentary. That's what we're doing. There's some Idaho residents that we're coming up to see. No, yeah, you bet. It's going to be a terrific film. It's one of those make you feel good films, a true story. I only do true stories, and it's the story of a young man who was born with some facial deformities and was it was tough, having a tough go of it, and then found his way through getting involved in wrestling and eventually became an All-American college wrestler. And so he's overcome it. It's one of those kind of good stories.
Oh, very nice. So this individual, is he from, so he obviously has family in this part of the world, but is he from Eastern Idaho or is he from elsewhere?
No, he's a Utah boy, but he's interacted with. I believe one of them we're coming to see is was one of his medical doctors. Sorry, I don't remember who the other person is. Anyway, but close connections to this kid.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So that'll be an upcoming project we can look forward to.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your career a little bit. You have been a filmmaker for a long time.
Yeah, look, I'm old.
And most of your films have been related to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is a church you're a member of. Making LDS-based films, was that a conscious decision or is that just sort of something you fell into?
Well, here's how that's gone, really, Red. Is my career was as a director of photography. I would film. That means I would film and light and everything for everybody else's films. And I did all kinds of IMAX and TV commercials and church films and movies. Uh, had a great career, and then I hit about 55, and I got thinking, I've got stories I want to tell. I need to do it now or forget about it. And so I wrote and put together our first film, which was 17 Miracles. And I tell you, it isn't that I ever made a conscious decision that I need to tell the uh, history of the church or something like that. It's that what my philosophy of filmmaking is that you have to be very careful about the projects you choose. That's the most important decision you make. And I put a lot of time into finding good stories. I like that type of story where people come out of the theater and say, "How did I not know about this? This is an amazing story, and it's never been talked in anything that I've been in." And that's very much the case in Escape from Germany, also.
How did you hear about this story, Escape from Germany?
Well, I had just done 17 Miracles. So this is like 13 years ago. And I was invited to a Sons of the Utah Pioneer banquet or something. And they sat me next to a guy, and somebody said, "This guy's interesting. Talk to him." Well, I did. I talked to this older gentleman I was next to. And one of the things he told me was, I was one of those missionaries that was evacuated right before World War II, right before Hitler got going. And he said it like I would know all about it. I'd never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. So after that, I started noticing, people started bringing it up. And then I had somebody send me a book by an Idaho lady named Terry Montague, lives in the Rupert area, and she wrote a book about this. And so when I decided I was going to make the film, or wanted to make the film, I contacted Terry and made arrangements to partner with her with being able to use her book. And she's been a great resource to me. And a lot of these evacuated missionaries are from Idaho.
What was it that made you want to pursue this career path? How did you get interested in this?
Well, my dad was a dentist, and my older brothers were all going medical. And for one thing, I just thought, I'm not smart enough to do that. I got to find something else, something funner. And my dad had a home movie camera in the 50s, which was pretty unusual. That wasn't, very few families, they had a movie camera in the 50s, 8 millimeter. And when my dad would get that out, it fascinated me. And I never wanted to be in front of the camera, doing dorky things like that. I was just, how does that work? And what's he fiddling with there? And asking him those kind of things. So I decided in the 8th grade that I was going to get into making movies. I had no idea what that meant or how you do it or whatever, but it really is, I think, a good thing if when you're that young, you decide what you want to do and then you can go after it. If you're way later in life, it could be a lot tougher. And things they worked for me. They just opened up, and it was at a good time as far as like the movement of filmmaking. And so here I am, 55 or so years later, and I've never had a job. I'm a freelancer, always have been, never had a job, never really done anything except look through the camera.
You talked about how from the beginning you were never interested in being in front of the camera. You were always fascinated with the camera itself. But I found something. You did make a film years ago, and we're going to get ultra specific here. Only a select few groups of people have probably seen this movie. But in the 80s, you made a movie called On Our Own. And there's a scene in that movie where a kid is driving a car and he almost runs you over, and you are that guy. And you're this neighbor guy who's trying to stop him, and you're in your underwear. Do you remember that scene?
I'm very proud of that scene. I got hornswoggled into that. That was my first film as feature film as a director of photography. And the director, who's a great guy, Lyman Dayton, Lyman didn't have an actor show up, and he was thinking what to do, and he came over to me and said, "Hey, the guy didn't. He's not here. Will you do this?" And I said, "Well, who's going to run the camera? How's that all going to work?" And oh, he had an idea and this and that. Anyway, it went from, yeah, you're just going to be, standing there at the door. It went from that to there's a car coming at you at, 20 miles an hour, and jump out of the way and fall into garbage cans. And, oh, we got this underwear. You got to put this underwear on. And that was Lyman. He just got it bigger and bigger. And I do get asked about that every once in a while.
Do you, as you look back on your resume of films you've been involved in, like some artists, if you ask them if they have a favorite project, they'll say, "Well, that's like asking who my favorite child is." Do you have a favorite, or do you have a similar mentality as that, where I can't pick a favorite?
No, I have a little different idea about it, which is that I have to say my last film, because if I tell you, oh, back in 1970, I made a really good film, that means like your career went, yeah. But if it's my last film, that means maybe I'm still going up. And this Germany film really was a terrific experience. And let me tell you one reason why. We made an effort to go out and find descendants of these evacuated missionaries. And then the extras, the people in the background that are walking by, and they don't have lines, they're sitting on benches, so forth. 90% of those extras in our film are the descendants of those people. And they were terrific. They loved to be there. They came several days. Some of them came from other states. And every morning on the set, I would introduce them to the cast and the crew. And I'd say, "Okay, who's here from the Siebold family?" And they'd raise their hands. "And who's here from the Baker family?" And every morning it'd make me cry. And then the next day I'd think, "Well, I'm not going to cry because I've already cried." And every day it'd make me cry because I'd see these descendants that were so proud of their ancestor, and they wanted to be there and honor that ancestor and be part of this portrayal that was going to happen for them. That was really a great part of this movie.
Yeah.
Making them.
I have noticed in your last couple of films, at least, I don't know if this is your trademark or whatever, but so in your films, you'll tell as much of the story as you can. But then just before the credits roll, you will include little nuggets of information about how this story ends. You'll have a photo of someone and you'll have a caption underneath it explaining what ended up happening to them. And I know that, like Fighting Preacher in particular, you had 5 or 10 minutes of things like that, where you explained what happened to all of these people that we just watched in this movie.
I certainly didn't invent that. It's an epilogue, but I feel like, see, I only do true stories. And it does a couple of things. One, it solidifies that this is a true story because I'm telling the audience, now here's what happened and da 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 da. And I think they would go, "Wow, he's making all that up." Well, no, this is kind of showing this is a true story. And then there's just too many things that I think are interesting that I love the audience to know. But in the body of the film, we can't take the time, and it would be so wandering and episodic. You don't do it there. But yeah, very often we'll have the credits going up one side of the film and then epilogue information on the other side of the film. And I just like it. I think it's satisfying to the audience, and it lets me take one more whack at telling them some things that I think will touch them and be interesting.
Yeah. You said earlier you typically only tell true stories in your films. Why?
I think it gives the old expression, it gives you a leg up. it's that is probably the first reason is because I find it more interesting. See, I think I'm kind of an everyman, and when I'm judging what to do and how to do it, that's one of the barometers for me is, uh, do I does this touch me? Do I find this interesting? And does it make me want to be a better person? And then I think if it does that for me, I'm kind of an everyman, and it probably will for other people too. And then also, I just think that you can put a terrific story on the screen that's fiction, and it's wonderful. I don't degrade it at all. It's terrific. But if you, as an audience member, know that what you're seeing actually happened to someone, I think that just automatically takes it to another level, and it helps you uh, assimilate it and feel more attached to it than if it was just some fiction out of somebody's brain.
So you've got this upcoming documentary project that you're working on. But beyond that, are there any projects, any stories out there that you would love to tell in the future? You know, if you could have your greatest dream,
Yeah.
you know.
There are, and in fact, we shot another feature dramatic film, and it's in post production now. So see, I've got the three films: Escape from Germany, this documentary about the young man wrestler, and then we also shot another true story, which is about a 1910 high jumper, and it is in post production. I don't know when we'll release it, but it's also a story that I'm very excited about, and I think I hope people will relate to and want to support too. Also,
We'll have to have you back when that comes out.
I'll be ready.
Hey, TC, appreciate your time today. Anything else you want to add about this premiere of Escape from Germany?
Idaho has been good to me in the past. Our films have come up there, and people have come out and supported. So I feel a love for coming there to Idaho, getting to see people. I have friends and up in the area, and I get to come and see them and punk around a little bit while I'm there.